The moment Emma felt his lips on hers, the world stilled. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a collision of confusion, warmth, and something far more dangerous than she could explain. For a second, everything inside her whispered that this was Ryan, the boy she had loved for 3 years, the boy she trusted more than anyone. But when she opened her eyes, she wasn't sure anymore. 2 identical faces, 2 identical smiles, 2 identical pairs of brown eyes, and a secret she never asked for now tearing her life apart. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us continue sharing stories that touch the heart. Emma's life had never been chaotic before this moment. She was the type of girl who believed in simple joys, quiet mornings, coffee shops, late-night drives with Ryan, and dreams that felt attainable. Ryan, her boyfriend, was the steady kind of good, the sort of guy you could trust with your worst fears and your best hopes. His twin brother, Evan, however, was nothing like him. Evan was unpredictable, charming in a wild way, and carried a storm behind his smile. Emma always sensed something unsettling about him, something sharp beneath all the friendliness. But she never imagined that one moment, one mistaken kiss, would pull her into a spiral of guilt, doubt, and heartbreak. It happened on a gray afternoon at the annual fall fair in their small Oregon town, a place where maple trees blazed with color and the air always smelled of cinnamon and roasted nuts. Emma had been waiting for Ryan near the Ferris wheel, watching kids chase each other and couples sharing warm apple cider. She had wrapped her scarf tighter around herself, shivering as wind brushed her face. Then she saw him, Ryan, or so she believed, walking toward her with that familiar warmth in his eyes. She didn't think, she simply stepped forward when he reached her, letting the comfort of his presence wash over her, and he kissed her like he had 100 times before, soft, certain, familiar. But the moment she pulled away, she saw Ryan, the real Ryan, standing a few feet behind her, holding 2 cups of cider, staring in confusion. Her stomach dropped, her heart split, and the boy who had just kissed her smiled in a way Ryan never had, a smirk full of mischief, full of something unkind. Evan. After that moment, the air in her life changed. Emma felt like she was walking through fog. Every second held a tight knot in her chest, the kind that made it hard to breathe. She didn't want secrets, she didn't want drama, she didn't want a mistake she never asked for to become the shadow hanging over her relationship. But Evan's kiss, unexpected, uninvited, had placed her in the center of a storm she didn't create. Ryan trusted people too easily, especially his brother. Ryan believed Evan was redeemable, fixable, just misunderstood. But Emma knew there were some storms that couldn't be talked down, and Evan was one of them. He flirted without boundaries, pushed limits, treated affection like a game. He enjoyed attention the way others enjoyed air. And now he was enjoying the idea that he had done something that shook Emma to her core. Emma tried to tell Ryan the truth. She sat with him on the hood of his car one night watching the stars. Her hands trembled, her throat tightened, but she tried. She started by explaining she felt uncomfortable around Evan sometimes, that he didn't respect personal space. But every time she got close to mentioning the kiss, Ryan interrupted with how Evan had been trying to grow, how he was finally getting therapy, how their family was hopeful he'd change. Emma swallowed her guilt and stayed silent. She didn't want to shatter the fragile hope Ryan held, but silence has a way of growing into something much darker. Over the next few weeks, Emma started noticing things she couldn't ignore. Evan watching her at family dinners. Evan brushing too close when passing behind her. Evan sending seemingly harmless jokes through text but adding winks and comments that made her skin crawl. And Emma realized something painful. Evan wasn't sorry for the kiss. He liked the power it gave him, liked knowing she was afraid to tell Ryan, liked having control over a secret she despised. One evening in early December, the truth finally exploded. Ryan planned a small birthday dinner with close friends at his apartment. Emma brought his favorite cake, hopeful that the evening would be light and joyful. But when she stepped out onto the balcony to get some air, Evan followed her with that same arrogant smirk. He leaned too close, whispering how he could still taste that kiss, how he wondered whether she had known it was him. Emma's eyes burned with tears. She stepped back, telling him to stop. But Evan didn't stop. He thrived on her discomfort. And that was the moment Ryan opened the balcony door and saw everything. His face fell. Confusion hardened into disbelief, then into something Emma had never seen in him, hurt so deep it looked like betrayal. Emma broke inside. She tried to speak, tried to explain, tried to reach him, but the words came out broken and small. Ryan didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He simply looked at her with a quiet devastation that tore her more than any shouting ever could. He walked back inside, slammed the door, and the sound echoed through her bones. Evan slipped away without shame, as if the chaos he created was nothing more than entertainment. The days that followed were the darkest Emma had ever known. Ryan wouldn't pick up her calls. Messages went unread. His silence was a knife that kept twisting. She cried until her eyes ached, replaying every moment, wishing she had told him the truth sooner. She knew she didn't deserve to be blamed. She hadn't asked for the kiss, hadn't invited any of it. But guilt isn't logical, and her heart was drowning in it. Weeks passed. Winter settled. The skies turned pale and heavy. Emma barely left her apartment except for work. She moved through days like a ghost, wondering if love could survive something that had broken so many pieces inside both of them. Then one evening, Ryan showed up at her door. His face looked tired, older, weighed down with questions. Emma's breath shook when she opened the door, and for a moment they simply stood there, staring at a future neither knew how to fix. Ryan finally asked to talk. They sat on her couch, knees almost touching, hearts bruised. Emma told him everything, every detail, every fear, every moment she regretted not speaking up sooner. She didn't hide a single truth. She said she loved him more than her own pride, and that she hated herself for letting fear silence her. Ryan listened, really listened. And when tears trembled in his eyes, Emma felt her own breath break. He told her he never should have doubted her heart. He apologized for letting his love for his brother blind him to the reality that Evan needed more help than anyone had admitted. He said that he had confronted Evan days earlier. Things became ugly, painful, but necessary, and that he finally saw the truth Emma had been carrying alone. Their reconciliation wasn't a miracle moment. It was slow, raw, layered with hurt and tenderness. They held each other and cried for everything they had almost lost. Healing began in that quiet apartment, built not on perfection but on honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to face wounds together. Over the following months, Ryan distanced himself from Evan until Evan finally entered a long-term treatment program. Their families faced difficult conversations, deep realizations, and a long path ahead. But things began to shift. Not because life became perfect, but because people finally stopped pretending. Emma and Ryan rebuilt their love slowly, carefully. They learned to communicate in ways they hadn't before. They learned to recognize each other's fears, protect each other's boundaries, and create safety in places where the past had left cracks. Their relationship became stronger, more grounded, more intentional. Not because it had never been tested, but because it had been tested deeply and still survived. And one spring morning, while sitting on a park bench watching cherry blossoms fall around them, Ryan took Emma's hand with a softness that made her heart full again. They both knew what they had endured wasn't small, it wasn't easy, but it had shaped them into something stronger, something resilient, something real. If this story touched your heart, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support truly means the world and helps us bring more emotional stories to you. Special request before you go, comment below. True love survives the storm. Emma and Ryan certainly did. And their story became a reminder that love isn't about being perfect. It's about standing together even when the world tries to pull you apart.